I used to think that I was cursed to look skinny and frail. I was naturally scrawny and small, and after almost 2 years of lifting, I looked like I'd never set foot in a gym. And if you're struggling to build a body that you're proud of, trust me, I get it. For years, I struggled and stumbled and honestly considered throwing in the towel. And through a quite frankly embarrassing amount of trial and error, I finally figured out what works for building muscle. I've actually built a physique that I'm proud of, coached many guys and girls to get into the best shape of their lives, and learned a lot of uncomfortable truths about fitness along the way. You can definitely achieve your goals. You need to just get out of the mindset of your so-called bad genetics or your bad luck. Spoiler alert, most of us have average genetics, so it's probably something you're doing wrong with your training and your nutrition, not your genetics. Let's start with the one that hurts the most. If you are not in good shape, it's basically not luck. It's because of something you're doing wrong. Yes, some people have good genetics, they have favorable fat distribution, they build muscle more easily, they can have a shredded six-pack and drink beer at the same time. It's deeply unfair. I get it, I've seen it, I've wanted to report it to the authorities. But here's the truth. For the majority of people who are in really good shape, people you see in commercial gyms all over the world every single day, it basically comes down to consistent training and nutrition for months and years that is not chaotic. They've built habits, they've repeated the boring stuff, and importantly, they don't think they're above doing the boring stuff. And the flip side is true as well, guys. This is something that people don't think about. There are tons of people out there with great muscle building and fat loss genetics, but you never know because they've never tapped into this potential. They have bad habits, they don't train, and as a result, they look terrible. So if you don't look the way that you want to look, it's possible that you actually have good genetics, you just haven't tried hard enough. And you might find that if you really lock in with training and nutrition, you have way better genetics than you think, but you'll never know if you don't really lock in. And there are just as many people with so-called bad genetics who turned things around and completely transformed their lives because they developed a great plan and they stuck to it for a length of time that some people might find uncomfortable, like multiple years. So if you're otherwise healthy, you're not over like 65 years old, and you're using genetics as a crutch, I say this with love, your success in fitness is basically 0% luck. It all comes down to making a good decision more often than not, repeated for a long time. This one might come as a surprise, but most transformations you see on social media were not achieved alone. Most people had help with their fitness somewhere along the way. Either they had help from getting amazing genetics from their parents, maybe they went to phenomenal schools and universities that taught them about nutrition, about fitness, about lifting weights. Maybe they grew up in families that prioritized whole foods and ate nutritious, high-protein meals. Maybe they played sport from a young age and they have an athletic background. Maybe they had coaches. Maybe they just grew up in environments that fostered a passion for fitness. So a dirty little secret about great success in fitness, and honestly success in anything in life, is it's basically never achieved completely by yourself, which isn't their fault, but it is part of their story. So what does this mean for you watching this video right now? Expecting to achieve an amazing fitness result completely alone is unrealistic. I personally worked with an online fitness and nutrition coach for 2 years and got into the best shape of my life. But without support, without structure, without a plan, while having life throw a bunch of stresses at you, it's extremely difficult to get into amazing, lean and muscular shape by yourself. This is like choosing extreme difficulty on the character creation screen and then wondering why the game was difficult. It doesn't mean that you can't achieve a great result by yourself, but it does mean that the way that you're probably currently doing it and the way most people do it, winging their fitness, winging their nutrition, it's just probably not going to work out that well. And don't get me wrong, saying I did it all on my own does sound cool, but I got it done and I got it done efficiently sounds cooler. And if these hard truths are making sense, but you're thinking to yourself,
okay, but how do I actually apply this to
my training, my situation, my life, my stresses, my family life? That's exactly what I do with my one-to-one clients. You get expert one-on-one support to take all of the guesswork out of your training, nutrition, and how the lifting and diet changes over time. If you want to build muscle, lose fat, and get into the best shape of your life, you can apply for a free consultation for one-on-one coaching with me in the first link of the description. Here's a weird one. People who are in great shape often look obsessed or obsessive. They weigh their food, they're meticulous about their training, but actually they're not that obsessed. They've just developed a system over time, so healthy eating and tough training in the gym is a bit like brushing their teeth. It's just kind of something that happens on autopilot. And most people who are lean and jacked and have built a fitness lifestyle aren't thinking about food 24/7. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but as much as social media would have you believe this, I actually think the vast majority of people are not on steroids. Social media elevates the extremes, but actually the vast majority of people are not prepared to take such big risks to their health. Assuming that somebody who's more jacked than you is necessarily taking stuff is usually just the opinion of somebody who's not working that hard themselves. It's about having systems, not relying on motivation, and just doing the work, doing the boring, consistent work of healthy, high-protein meals, lifting weights in the gym with progressive overload and intensity with a focus on getting stronger, and getting loads of steps in. This next uncomfortable truth is so unpopular that most people will immediately argue with it, but I firmly believe that your fitness results are inextricably linked from your immediate social circle. If the people around you are in great shape, you're likely to be in great shape. If the people around you don't give a shit and they eat whatever they want, that's gonna be you too. If your partner eats a bunch of junk, drinks alcohol all the time, hates the gym, that's gonna be you pretty soon. If your friends only socialize around booze and takeaway and your family is the same, that's also probably gonna be you. The fastest way that I've seen people level up their fitness is to be around fit people. Go to a gym where people are serious, join a run club, work with a coach like me. Whatever you can do to surround yourself with people where being fit is the norm, the higher your chances are of not falling off the wagon. We are social creatures, we are deeply affected by one another. If everyone around you is in bad shape, simple healthy choices and something like weighing your food and tracking your macros is going to be seen as extreme or disordered eating, and you're probably slowly going to deteriorate. So basically, you have two options. Either find better friends and better role models to surround yourself with, or if you can't do this, reject the opinion of others, go ahead and focus on your goals. But trust me, if you have like-minded, supportive people around you, it's going to be much easier. I've had clients who come from really dysfunctional, obese families and have partners who aren't in great shape, and they tell me that working with me has been the only thing stopping them from falling into that trap too. And finally, guys, I've left the most unpopular, brutal truth to finish. You probably know way less about training and nutrition and fitness in general than you think you do. And this one comes from personal experience. Before I hired my first coach, I really thought like I knew everything around macros, around training, about the cycles of diet, about exercise science, about muscle building, about exercise selection, all sorts of things. I was just essentially very confident in my opinion. Lo and behold, 2 years later, I was way more jacked at the same body weight. I worked with an expert with like a decade more experience than me, and needless to say, I learned a lot. And I learned that I knew way less than I thought I did. And unfortunately, this is a pattern that I see over and over again. Most people think they're way more knowledgeable about training and nutrition than they actually are. They've tracked macros before, so they think they understand nutrition. They've progressively overloaded their lifts before, so they think they understand training. They know that 10,000 steps is a good number for some reason, so they think they know how to get lean. I'll just put it this way, guys. If you are currently not in your dream body, like your absolute perfect physique that you wouldn't change anything, then there might be something to learn. And honestly, the people with this beginner mindset, this learning mindset, do ultimately tend to learn the most and get the most out of their training and nutrition because they're constantly trying to learn new things. Knowledge is not implementation. It's one thing knowing something in theory, but until you've applied it for years, it's not fair to say that you deeply understand the concept. People will throw around big words like intermittent fasting and hypertrophy in the YouTube comment section, yet they haven't been able to stick to the basics of basic exercises, compound lifts with the progressive overload, and hitting a daily carbohydrate, protein, and fat target for more than like 2 weeks. So honestly, guys, I think the number one thing holding people back from getting a really amazing result with their fitness is the arrogance of thinking they know way more than they actually do. Physiques don't lie. If you're not in the body that you want to be in, you probably have something to learn. And I include myself in this, by the way. Having a beginner mindset where you're always trying to learn new skills is a cheat code to getting into the best shape of your life. So if you made it this far in the video, as I said, those 5 brutally honest fitness truths you probably aren't going to like, but if you take them on board, you'll definitely benefit from them. And if you want more no-nonsense, evidence-based fitness advice from somebody who works with real people in the real world every single day of my life, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. As I said, if you want to work directly with me, the applications for one-to-one coaching are in the first link of the description. And check out this video next, which explains how to create a system to make being lean feel automatic. So fat loss feels easy and something you can do on autopilot.